Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela. 45 ministers have been sworn into the Federal Executive Council by President Bola Tinubu, which set the pace towards achieving the renewed hope agenda of the present administration to implement government policies effectively and efficiently. The ball is now in their court. The president has tasked the new ministers to meet the expectations of Nigerians for a renewed socio-economic development and gain public confidence and trust amongst the leaders. As they hit the ground running following their assumption of duties, they are expected to perform as ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and not ministers of a particular state or region, as the president rightly puts it. But changes in governance comes with friendly policies that are duly effective and well implemented, which of course requires utmost political will, especially in the face of daunting challenges bedeviling the country. Much is expected within the time frame, and this mandate bestowed on the ministers is an opportunity to change the narrative and bring about peace, safety, and prosperity for Nigerians as they contribute their quota to deliver accountable and transparent services. During the minister's assumption of duties, they all gave strong affirmations on how to tilt government's policies towards good governance for the benefit of the people. But it goes beyond mere talk, but matching words with action. On Platform, our focus is ministers' mandate towards renewed hope agenda, and our guest is Engineer Yabagi Sani, Chairman Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Thank you so much for joining us, Engineer Sani.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me.
You're welcome. We'll take you through the bit of his profile, as it is our tradition on Platform, before we introduce our panelists. Engineer Yabagi Sani is a politician, energy and crude oil expert, and is the current national chairman of the Action Democratic Party. He graduated from Harvard University and Institute of Technology, New York. That was in 1976. He also holds a BSc in Management Engineering from Columbia University, New York. Engineer Sani is an astute politician. He was the founding member of ANPP and member Board of Trustees of All Nigeria People's Party. That was in 1999. Engineer Sani was candidate of the All People's Party in Niger State for the governorship election. In 2019, Engineer Yabagi was the presidential candidate of Action Democratic Party in the 2019 general elections. In 2021, Engineer Yabagi Sani emerged as the national chairman of IPAC. We've already established that. And he was declared ADP presidential candidate for the 2023 presidential election. Once again, thank you for joining us on Platform. Engineer, thank you.
Thank you, Ruth, for having me.
All right, let's introduce our panelists. One of our regular, she's becoming a regular, Laraba Murray, a reporter with the Abuja Enquirer newspaper. Laraba, you know it's always our pleasure to have you join us.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Engineer Sani, the ball has been set rolling in the courts of the ministers. Just recently, we saw the inauguration, and they've all, assumed office, talking about duties in their respective places. And there's a whole lot of expectations. Nigerians are anticipating. We saw new ministries spring up, and this is new for Nigeria, which some experts have said it's timely. And for you, based on your perception, going by every affirmation given by all the ministers, they're all positive about, setting the ball rolling and doing what is right to ensure the renewed hope agenda of the present administration is achieved and sustained. What are your opening remarks regarding that?
Well, I think it's a very good beginning for Nigeria.
Okay.
If you look at the situation we are in today in terms of the economy, security, and even the unity of the country. So bringing the array of people that I believe most of them possess the required experience, track record, and academically also. So that gives one the confidence that we will get it right. And then you also have to weigh it against the background of the political situation we're in also. So I believe Mr. President has done quite a lot, in terms of addressing our, like I said, socio-economic, problems. Because the president is only expected to lead, he cannot manage. He's not the manager. He's supposed to be the leader. The work of the function of a leader is to identify good managers, people that have track records, people that can think out of the box, people that can, grasp with the problems and then provide solutions as they hit the ground running. So I believe that what I am praying for and hoping will happen soon is the kind of upbeat,
spirit we saw.
Spirit I saw, at the swearing in, and then when they were addressing the people. I hope in another 3 months, 6 months, Nigerians in large numbers will also be celebrating that now we are getting out of the woods, especially as far as the economy is concerned. You look at the economy, of course, there are core ministries that I think what Mr. President has done it's on point. Finance Ministry, Budget and Planning, Ministry of Trade and Investment. These are core ministries, in every economy. Because when you look at even the GDP of our economy, you find that, these key three, ministries I mentioned play a very fundamental role in growing the economy of the country, because you can't run an economy without trade. You have to trade with others, and then trade, actually takes a big chunk of the economy, contribution to the sectoral contribution to the economy. Industries also, as you know, that is where you have the real sector of the economy. So you must be able to grow your real sector before your GDP can grow. So, and then finance, that is how do you get the money to run the economy itself? How do you have good, workable monetary policies that will give you, a head start, and then be able to ensure that you have enough revenue to pursue those programs that Mr. President has charged, most of the ministers to deliver on. For me, the minister in charge of finance and coordinating economy, that is Wale Edu, I think he's somebody that one can say has paid his dues in terms of acquiring the required academic and experience, in banking sector, international financial sectors, and also in government. As I remember that he was the commissioner for finance
during the president's tenure when he was governor.
Then when you look at the budgeting, I mean, like I said, budget and planning. Agudu was the governor.
Economic planning now.
Budget and economic planning, yes. Okay. He was a governor, and I think he also will bring to bear his experience in running the state, ensuring that the planning is such that can be realized within the shortest possible time.
Yes.
Because it has to impact on the people, whatever you are planning. So this is why I am happy, because the last administration, they combined both the finance ministry and the budget and planning. And I said it. I said, no, this is wrong. The man in charge of planning and budgeting should have one-on-one with Mr. President. Okay. Should not be Minister of State.
We're going to break down the sectors, Engineer Sani, bit by bit. But let's hear from Laraba. Laraba, go ahead.
Aside from being okay with the fact that the ministries have now been separated for finance now, what suggestions would you give these sections, that's for the budget and planning, and then for the finance, what suggestions would you give them to tackle the economic challenges that we are presently facing?
Well, like everybody in this country knows, it's about corruption. It's not how beautiful your programs are or how serious you are yourself, but corruption is really the bane of our development. If you don't have transparency, accountability, and good governance, and these things cannot happen if you have corrupt officials. I'm glad that it's happening. The designing, episode happening in UK now. I think it's a lesson to the ministers coming on board that you can't get away. You may be able to steal all the money you want to steal, But down the line, maybe when you are forgotten, somebody will call you, come and answer for what you have done. Because corruption, believe you me, is the main of our problem. If you look at the oil and gas sector, I didn't mention it because whatever is planned around these key ministries I talked about will have a very, very far-reaching effect on the other ministries like agriculture, which you say, why didn't I mention agriculture, education, health? Those ones are sectors that require investments. I'm talking about sectors that will bring investments into the economy, that will give them revenue that these sectors are going to use to achieve, their own mandate. So what am I going to tell them is to make sure that they put in place things that will help us to fight the issue of corruption. Because it's not that we didn't have good plans or intentions, we don't have presidents with very good intentions. So my advice to Mr. President is that, for instance, we have no business borrowing, as we are doing now. We should find a way of ensuring we look inwards. Because
now, Engineer Sani, just to put that in perspective, it should be directed to the ministers now, the coordinating minister of the economy, who will be suggesting and recommending policies and all of that to the president. What you're trying to say?
Yeah, he said it even when he was being screened. He says the economy is like you having a bucket which has a hole, and you are putting things inside. Of course, it's a basket case. So that's the Nigeria today. It's a basket case as far as corruption is concerned. And where do you look at? No matter how you want to say it or look at it, it is the oil and gas sector. That is where we are making the bulk of the revenue to run the economy. You talk about agriculture, you talk about education, you talk of health, you talk of what have you. You get almost 89% or more than that of your revenue from oil and gas sector. The backward and forward linkages between the oil and gas sector and other sectors of the economy is so big, so dominant. That's why the Minister of Finance should look at how do we plug those financial leakages in the oil and gas sector, because you need the money and we can't go borrowing continuous. So this is why I'm saying that they should look inward. Nigeria, like you know, is about subsidy, isn't it? Subsidy is where all our money was being stolen. So who are the people managing this subsidy?
Okay, you want like a probing, Engineer Sani, if I get you correctly, like a probing for the alleged subsidy.
Exactly what got us to where we are today. Because there are two kinds of subsidies in this economy. There's a subsidy on petroleum products. There's a subsidy on naira. We are putting a lot of billions of dollars to maintain the rate of the exchange rate of dollars. Some of which all went to MFLS friends. We know that people will go collect money from the central bank, come and sell it to the BDS.
Allegedly, Engineer Sani.
Well, allegedly,
because it's still in court. The fact of the matter is that
allegedly, somebody has been taken to court. The Accountant General of Federation was taken to court for stealing over 200 billion naira of our money. So what has happened? Allegedly. So then, that's why we are saying, for whatever reasons, why we are where we are. Why am I saying this? Believe you me, if you don't do anything about the sectors that are responsible for the wars we are in today, no matter what you do, you will never see any result.
If I get you're trying to say that what the Minister of Finance should do is that he should set up policies that will block these leakages.
Exactly. Financial leakages. Okay. Everybody knows, international community are aware. Government itself set up, probing committees, I remember there was one that was set up by the previous administration to investigate. And it was headed by the governor of Edo State, Obaseki. They came out to say that we lost $3 billion in the first 6 months of that year to crude oil theft. Is it alleged? They said it. That's the economic council of the economic council set up that committee. They investigated. They came out with that report.
Okay, Engineer Sani, we are aware. I'm sure Nigerians are aware of the problems. We're looking at a positive direction, solution, and these ministers have come on board. They have a task before them.
They need money.
They need money. Yes, I'm heading to you now. Just hold on, Engineer Sani. What we want, or rather what Nigerians are expecting from them, the expectations are high. So we want you to tell us your recommendations. We already know what is happening, but going forward, if we want to be aligned with the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, we should be looking at solutions. We should be looking at ways on how to mitigate some of these leakages, address our challenges, because we have to forge ahead.
Yes.
So going back to the economy again, because it's very important for us, we're seeing the inflation rate going high. In terms of import-export, the imbalances that are there, what should be the direction this time around? The kind of policies that should be friendly to help in terms of looking at all these, addressing all these anomalies.
Yeah, you see, Nigeria is blessed. Everybody says that, isn't it, with natural resources. So I think what Nigeria needs to do is to, the people in charge, like I talk about trade and investment, I talk about Ministry of Finance planning, they should see a way by which we can make export of our raw materials out of this country in the form that we send it out today. Government should legislate that you must add value one way or the other. And then when you do that, cocoa that we export, cotton we export, channels and things like that, so many things that we export from this country, they must be semi-processed at least. It's why can't we do it? It's not rocket science. We have the money. We can buy the machinery. We have trained, engineers in this country. They've been chunking out so many, inventions in the Ministry of Technology and things like that. So which means you have young, dynamic people that can really do these things. What is happening is that we are not adding value to our economy. That's why look at the oil and gas sector where we have comparative advantage. How much does it contribute to our GDP? Less than maybe 5%. The last time I checked was it's less than 6%. Can you imagine that? So, which means if we were perhaps refining our crude oil here, the contribution of that sector to the economy would have been huge. Because you will now be able to employ more Nigerians. You'll be able to now have effect on other ancillary sectors of the economy. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Agriculture, the same thing. We shouldn't export all those raw materials out of this country. It can be done. Other countries are doing it. Look at China. They make sure that whatever they are producing, the export industry is what thrives in China. That's what's driving that economy.
Because they're harnessing their raw materials.
Exactly, and then process it before they send it out. Because your naira can only be strengthened by the productivity. Productivity means your real sector of the economy should be booming. That's why I said the key sector of the economy, as far as I'm concerned, ministries, Federal Ministry of Trade and Investments, Federal Ministry of Finance, and the budget and the economic planning, like you said. I'm saying that these sectors I'm talking about, in fact, are the economy itself.
So are there solutions?
Rather, what we should be looking at or proffering solution for, it's the kind of friendly policies that will help investors do business in Nigeria, the kind of trade we should be exporting if we want our revenue to increase in Nigeria, and not look at, although performance index is also important, but let's give the person in charge the benefit of the doubt. Let's see the performance, but the trajectory is what we're concerned about.
We look at the history, isn't it?
Yes.
What has happened in the history.
In the past, yes.
In the past, you have one minister in the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment and another Minister of State.
Yes.
Because of the frosty relationship that normally exists between Minister of State and the ministers, they are human beings, no matter how you want to look at it. And nothing is cast in stone. The president he has the prerogative. He can change ministers even tomorrow if he wants. If he has discovered that you are not the right place, or I should make sure that you succeed by adding some layers to you of either a minister or some other arrangement whereby we will have focus on these three main areas of our economy: investment, industry, and trade. They are key sectors of the economy, like they did in the Ministry of Information, your ministry, or is it tourism and culture?
Okay, information
tourism,
and yes,
which
and
is
orientation.
Now split in
Yes, information and orientation.
Exactly,
yes.
So as far as the economy is concerned, we need to do that. We need people that will market this economy for us, outside this country. And the minister in charge of investment, trade, industry should do that. Okay. So they should be equipped. That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
Another area, which I think we are perhaps getting it right, is the area of security. How do we tackle this area of security? Well, Badaru, who is there, like he says, in the States for 8 years, the issue of the security was never an issue as far as
and he rightly put it on assumption of duty that it's hard time. It's going to be a hard time for criminals, bandits, and all of them while securing the country and all of that. So let's
so I believe that if he gets the kind of cooperation that he needs, from the service chiefs, I'm sure, he's the right person, because for the track record, what he has done. You may say Jigawa State is a small state, but we have small states that are today terrorized, like Zamfara is a small state, but it's been terrorized. You have other contiguous states who have been terrorized by bandits. So whatever policy that he implemented there, I think are encouraging to see how it can be magnified or escalated to the national issue of insecurity that we have. So because what are our problems, like insecurity, economic retrogression, and then you now talk about the unity of the country itself, and I think they can be traced to this. If your economy is performing, you will not have people at each other's throats, because everybody will have enough. People will be employed. So these are the issues that we are battling with in this country.
Okay, you mentioned that at least you're happy with what is going on in the defense security sector, but you know that if the minister declared that it's going to be a hard time for bandits and other vices, it means that the Ministry of Justice is going to come in. So what suggestion would you give to the Minister of Justice in order to, fasten legal proceedings, reduce the backlogs, and also, to promote legal justice for Nigerians?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, any country, like I mentioned, investment, you won't get any investment if your judiciary is not reliable. Nobody will bring its money here, because they want a situation where they can have a recourse in case things go wrong. So even from the point of view of economy itself, growing economy, not only the security aspect, the judiciary must be reformed one way or the other, so that people can begin to have confidence in the justices and whatever what is happening. So in the area of security, like you said, when you have a reform that is apparent to everybody, it will rub off on so many other sectors of the economy, because everything has to do with, the judiciary. Even yourself. I mean, you must have confidence in the judiciary, so that, when you need protection, you know where to run to. So I think judiciary is at the core of what we are saying. Your industrial policy and things like that for the economy is also important. We must have not obscured laws. We must have laws that are very, very clear, to anybody coming to do business with us. There are no obscurities in our laws. That's critically important. That's because this economy needs investment. We need people to come and invest. We must tidy up our security aspect, like you rightly said. We must tidy up our judiciary system. We must tidy up our laws on investments, on industrialization and things like that. People must be able to see it clearly and say, okay, this is where we are going. And then also budgeting. Our budget should also be the budget that everybody can believe in, and then will perform. You won't have a situation where the National Assembly is playing one game, the people, there's some padding, there's this and that, the budget, So all those things, if we want to be serious with this God-given country that is so fabulously blessed, believe you me, our representatives in government must sit up, must begin to have fear of God and believe that after then their children are coming, and it's not amount of money you amass for your children that determines how far they go in life. In fact, it will even become a liability. It could be, because we have seen what has happened. Some people who pile up this money, which is not their money, their children killing themselves, going into drugs, womanizing, and they don't do anything meaningful with their lives. So that's why they should sit up, and then give this country the kind of leadership that it deserves.
Okay, and one other strategic ministry that, of course, would directly impact on the youths is the Ministry of Communications, Innovations and Digital Economy. We have heard the president, when he came on board, talked about innovative means on how to engage young people. Quite unfortunate we're still having the Ministry of Youth vacant, but we're hoping that it will be filled up. But looking at the communications, innovations and digital economy, we have a man there who has a background in terms of communications, who has demonstrated the capacity and competence that he can deliver. But this is on a larger scale for Nigeria. What will be the trajectory?
Well, trajectory is that, you see, we have no choice but to go with the world. Like you know, the fourth industrial revolution is going to be driven by IT.
Yes.
Today, people are talking about AIs, they're talking about, so many other things, robots.
AI is taking over?
Yeah, it's taking over. So it's a good thing that Mr. President has put somebody who is already on track, who has been doing it on his own, to ensure that we get like the youth that he promised that he will get so many millions of jobs within the shortest possible time. That's the industry that, believe me, Nigeria is waiting for us to waiting for Nigeria. Because why do I say so? We have young, dynamic individuals on their own. You can see what these fintechs, what these innovations, the amount of money they are attracting to this economy in billions of dollars. There's a lot of motion, but no movement yet. Maybe it's too early to expect any movement. But I can see with the spirit, with the zeal, the zeal that, and then the president himself telling us that he's going to hold him accountable. It can't be business as usual, like what we had before, And I can see this president wanting or already being engaged with the people, of this country, which is what is important, really. So from the political point of view, there's a very strong synergy between the economy and politics, the political stability. So, and I am concerned, like my colleagues who are in political parties, we are concerned about growing this economy, because if you don't grow the economy, people will lose confidence in the democracy itself, because they will say it's not delivering and we want it to deliver. And this economy is a promise of greatness. We can deliver more than anybody can ever imagine. So this is why we are lucky at this point in time, I believe, to have Ashwaju, Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president. Why? Because he's a Democrat, like I've always said, all his life. He's somebody who is into businesses, so he knows, he has the idea of how businesses should run. It's not something that you go sit back and expect magic or some miracles to happen. No, you have to get up and then be, hands-on the economy itself. And I think he has what it takes. I hope the surrounding people will allow him to work.
All right, let Laraba just hold that thought. I know you have a follow-up question. Yeah. We have to take this break, and you don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
What are we doing as a nation to first of all settle our teeming populace, especially the
NTA's political package with a third eye on the nation's political scene? I am Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling of their.
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything because we don't have anything.
Fellow Nigerians, I made a solemn pledge to work for you, how to improve your welfare and living condition. It's of paramount importance to me, and it is the only thing that keeps me up day and night.
Welcome back. Good to know you there. The conversation is still on Minister's mandate towards renewed hope agenda. Engineer Sani, Laraba was going to pick up with a question before we took that break, so go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to get a clarification. I know you mentioned that some ministries still need some layerings to their portfolios, but then I would like to talk in the area of collaborations. Now, we were talking about digital economy and then how it's going to create jobs for Nigerian youths. Now, what would you say about collaborations between the Ministry of Labor and this other ministry in order to foster increased jobs and then faster for the Nigerian people?
Yeah, the issue is about, like you rightly said, collaboration and cooperation, amongst the ministers, because that's what it has to be. There has to be synergy between the ministers, and that's why you need a coordinating ministry. As far as jobs are concerned. Okay. How do you get industries to work? How do you get, like you rightly said, the telecommunication sector and then the labor sector and other sectors? How do you get them to work in sync so that the resultant effect will be something that will have impact, on the people. How it happens is that labor is to look after the policies, how the policies as it affects the labor unions and things like that, is implemented. But when you talk about the real sector of the economy, people that bring out jobs, the ministry that brings up jobs, labor doesn't bring out jobs, labor takes, the jobs. So you have to go to, like you said, the digital economy, ministry. I talk about the industries, agriculture, you look at, we also have a minister for steel, I think now, isn't it?
Yes, steel
industry is one industry that we need to do quite a lot because it is the backbone of industrialization of any economy at all. Ajaokuta is there, people say it's a black hole. I don't know why we should invest billions of dollars and they say it's not something that can be turned around. So I think government should look at how Itakpe and other, the feedstocks to that, because that's a huge industry. That's what Nigeria needs. The concept was good, but maybe implementation, like I said, corruption got in, and then the whole thing is now a fiasco, almost a fiasco. So I believe such sectors of the economy should be more coordinated. We have the coordinating minister of economy, Wale Edu there. So I think we will see some movement very soon. I believe so. But the issue is that of economy and corruption. Believe me. These agencies, I don't know what they are doing. EFCC, ICPC, But again, like you mentioned, judiciary, maybe that is the hamstrung thing. That's what it has been, not allowing, some of them to work at the pace they would want to work.
So would you suggest that since there is now a renewed hope agenda that we're looking at, would you suggest that there should be like a round table between these agencies that might be holding back some of the judicial activities? Would you say that they should sit on the table and still see how they can forge ways for Nigeria's judicial system?
You see, to the extent, some countries even have their foreign minister as their trade minister.
Okay.
So which means even the foreign minister, the minister who is in charge of the foreign affairs, is also a factor here. It should come because investment. He meets the presidents or dignitaries from other countries. He should not be talking politics only. They should talk about the economy. And that's when you talk about synergy, the synergy is that between the trade investment and foreign affairs, Federal Ministry of Finance, it should be very, very strong, so that we can benefit from what, we are getting in terms of political and other engagement with the world. Look at Nigeria here, where we are having some problems now. And if Nigeria, believe me, if we are able to effectively assert our position, economic position, even in the sub-region, the ECOWAS, believe me, this economy is a promise of greatness. Okay. We have what it takes. So the point I'm trying to make is that every sector of the economy or every ministry that you see today should have as number one economy. How do we get this thing out of the wood? And it can be done.
Engineer Sani, I think...
Tourism, the same thing.
Yes,
it can be done.
where Laraba was speaking from was the judiciary aspect, right? Yes. The synergy, you asked the question, what is the EFCC, the ICPC doing if corruption is eaten deep?
Yeah.
So she's asking for the synergy. If we want effective and efficient performance, where is the synergy going to be?
The synergy, like we said before, we must reform the judiciary.
Okay.
We must tell ourselves the gospel truth that today, Nigerians have measured respect for the judiciary. So how much more of somebody, coming from the outside? So we must work very hard on that to make sure that our judiciary is respected, that it remains really the last, recourse, for everybody.
All right.
So that, I think that's what we need to do, is judiciary.
Okay, let's pick up. While you were talking about investment opportunities and you were talking about employment generation, you talked about the steel development ministry.
Exactly.
And it's good it was splitted. We have the Ministry of Solid Minerals and Steel Development, which the prospects there, like you rightly put it, is very high and it's promising.
Yes.
Aside the Ajakuta, which everybody says it's a gold mine just sitting down there, what other areas should we, or rather, should those in charge be focusing on to see that we're harnessing those resources that are just there, redundant, and not being utilized?
Yeah, like today, everybody is going electric motors, going for fossil fuel. Nigeria, in every direction you go, we are blessed. This soil, I understand somebody told me in Ogun State and other places, the soil there is very, very suitable for making these lithium batteries. Today, the world is going to lithium batteries. Let them study those things more. That even if you are going away from what we have in abundance and out of, some absent-mindedness in our governance, we didn't take advantage of it as we should. Now, we're talking about renewable energy. We have sun all over the place, we have wind, we have dams all over the place, rivers that can be converted, and agriculture too, So I believe that employment opportunities available in Nigeria is huge, it's beyond what you can ever think of. And that is why the Western world, all of them are coming here in spite of whatever, killings and insecurity. It's why insecurity, you see then, they come, you go to our hotels now, you find all of them there, these white men and what have you. Because they know that some of us don't know what we have, and then they come, with their briefcase and because they're looking white, the people, we start allowing ourselves to be taken, for granted, taken advantage of. So I think we need people the ministers, to begin to see Nigeria as a huge potential with so many opportunities that all that it takes is just for you to really have people that are committed, are committed. And commitment cannot come. It's Mr. President. He has to micromanage. He has to get feedback. He has to give them KPIs that they must meet. If you fail to meet your KPI, you must give a convincing reason why you should remain on that seat. So I think and these are some of the things that were lacking. You remember, before Buhari's administration, there were people in the newspapers, you see newspapers even giving you ratings on ministers that, this one is Minister A in terms of performance, is a B, this one is a C category. That disappeared. And it matters, it matters a lot. So once that is back, Nigerians are keyed into people, also managing. That's why, in IPAC, we brought up the idea of peer review mechanism, which we are introducing very soon. So that we can compare the governance, maybe in the same region, geographical zones, how has this one performed, in the area of education, in the area of water, in the area of health, in the area of gender balancing and things like that, who has performed credibly well and will be celebrated. So also at the federal level, ministers there should be peer review mechanism for ministers. And that's what we want to do, so that we will not lose this democracy that we have, because Nigerians have to be given confidence that they matter, that they are also part of the governance.
And it's good that during the inauguration, the swearing in, the president put it clearly through the ministers. You can't afford to fail Nigerians. If you underperform, you will be replaced.
Yes.
Laraba, go ahead.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me that if all these sectors that we're talking about underperform, it results to humanitarian crisis.
Yep.
Now, and then also, according to some reports, we hear that we have at least 136 million...
33.
33 million Nigerians that are poor, or would I say vulnerable. Yes. Yeah. So now that is why the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has been refocused to now Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Now, for that ministry, what policies do you think that they can come up with in order to fix these numbers or to reduce these numbers considerably in such a way that is going to reduce the statistics that is coming out?
Yeah, well, they have to look at the MSMEs, these small-scale industries. Okay. How that humanitarian, ministry will be able to bring some of this 133 that, to become 33 million to become productive employers themselves. It's not that you give them handouts and things that that doesn't solve problem. Palliatives, yes, is good as a short-term, measure. Yeah. But the permanent, solution is that let these people become employers of labor themselves. What do I mean? Let them be engaged in productive work. It's not just giving them money. Money is good, but if you can go to a household, bring 3, 4, 5 households together and say, okay, you people, should now be involved in doing, maybe even weaving, something that will be sold, or processing. Like I said, we should be able to process some of these raw materials that we send out. We have huge population that are waiting to be tapped, in semi-processing of some of these raw materials. So these people that you are 103 multidimensional poverty, striking people can be brought into productive sector of the economy. So that's what I think they should do. Okay. So with the NDE, I don't know, the National Development Employment Agency, and I think they should come together and see how do we bring these people into employment, because not all of them can, I know some may be old, but they have young ones.
To say that.
Yeah, no, some people are old,
because
but they have...
poorest of the poor, the vulnerables, they can really, but they can do petty trade because the conditional cash transfer that has been in place, most of them, when you hear their stories, they use it to start petty trade, and they're seeing the benefit of it, according to them.
People often did not, I mentioned China and what have you. All the people are there doing fantastic jobs, they are, like I say, manufacturing one thing or the other. Once you bring them together in a kind of group, they become productive, and they're able to earn for themselves. It's not that you give them fish, you now teach them how to catch fish. That is the point I'm trying to make.
All right, and part of the clarity we got during the swearing in by the president was that the ministers should focus on national interest and not primordial interest. They should focus on looking at, it's not about the region you're from. It's about Nigeria first. And if your performance must be rated, then you must deliver. And delivering, in terms of effective service delivery, cannot be achieved without those policies well implemented. Engineer Sani, we've had policies. We still have policies. We're still going to have policies. Implementation has always been a challenge. Going forward, what would be your recommendation?
Well, I'm glad Mr. President said that he look at themselves as national ministers, not minister from one state or the other.
So what are your recommendations?
What I'm recommending is that the ministers, like I said before, the only way, even in a small company, if you don't give targets, how do you measure somebody's performance? So targets should be given to these ministers by all means, so that you can say, okay, we had a meeting with you, you told us this is what you can do within 3 months, 6 months, you have failed. Give us the reason why you have failed. Then it will. That's the only way. There's no other way to do it. It's by monitoring, by controlling, by reviewing, by coming together one-on-one with your ministers. It's not a case that you appoint somebody a minister and for 1 year the man will not see you. He's seeing only some advisors or some aides. That cannot work in this economy. The Mr. President is supposed to be everywhere, but he's supposed to be one-on-one with people that he put who are actually discharging his powers, his responsibility in those ministries, because they are representing Mr. President in those ministries. So he should have one-on-one with them. Whether you have a coordinating Minister of Economy or not, let there be coordinating.
You know, Engineer Sani, you're directing the answer to the president what he must do. But the ministers have been placed with a task on what they should do.
Yes.
So I want you to speak to them.
Yeah, the ministers already, like you said, they are ready, you know, from day one.
Not like I said, like they said,
like
they are ready.
You know, yeah, they were gaily dressed and then, you know,
So what would you tell them to ensure that policies that will affect Nigerians positively must be implemented?
They must deliver within the shortest possible time. They have to think out of the box. They have to prove Mr. President right, that Mr. President, you are right for appointing me to be your minister in this area. They must deliver. It's delivery that is the issue. And we have addressed issues that will perhaps, you know, militate against them, which is the issue of revenue. No matter how good your ideas are, you must have money to implement them.
Okay, I was going to get a recommendation. For the purpose of just this discussion, I want to put together the Ministry of Works and Transportation. You would agree with me that infrastructural development in the area of roads, transportation, you know, it's key to getting all these sectors that we're talking about to be more effective. So what recommendation would you give these two ministries in order to expedite the mandate of the Renewed Hope?
Yeah, like you rightly said, you know, that's at the macro level, isn't it, of the economy. You need very good infrastructure that can, you know, facilitate transportation of goods from one place to the other. In fact, when we're talking about the inflation skyrocketing, part of it is because we have, you have structural problems. You know, that is responsible for the high inflation that you have, even the food inflation that you have. Transportation is a challenge, you know, to most people. So if you can have infrastructure that will make it easy for people to move from one place to the other, believe you me, it will help the economy to grow at a very, very fast rate than we are growing today. And of course, Minister of Works, you know, comes in. We have somebody, a minister that has proven that he knows what he's doing. He's a civil engineer. You know, that's Omahi. I'm sure he will do a wonderful job.
Okay.
You know,
Engineer
and,
Sani,
even your ministry too. You have a very somebody who is very familiar with the
talking about information and
information. Yes, Muhammad Idris. I think he will have a newspaper and things like that. So I think those ones will do a very good job in managing what comes out of the
Engineer Sani, we have to wind round off this conversation. And talking about optimism, what is the vision you're seeing for Nigeria? Because if we don't keep that hope alive, we can't go anywhere.
No, we already...
As we round off, what's your message?
Mr. President has aptly, brought out his slogan, his mantra, renewed hope.
Yes.
And really that's what this country requires, renewed hope. And he has people, the foot soldiers he has put it forward. They are people that I believe can realize that renewed hope. But the issue that you have good people, they have good programs, but to implement, you need revenue.
Let's keep hope alive, Engineer Sani. Thank you so much. We'll leave this conversation there. They have been given the task to perform. We'll put our eyes on the prize and see what will come out of this. Thank you so much, Engineer Yabagi Sani. He's the Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Laraba Murray, thank you so much for your time on platform. She's a reporter with Abuja Inquirer newspaper. Always our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we've been discussing Minister's mandate towards renewed hope agenda. Responsiveness, strategic vision, equity, justice, and fairness is what Nigerians are seeking. And if you've been given the mandate to serve, then service should be your due diligence. That's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Bye.